Hi guys, my name is Megan and I'm a watercolor artist in the Seattle area, and today I wanted to show you my process for painting an all-white dog with kind of curly hair. The subject that I'm working on today, his name is Peanut, and he is a 14-year-old Maltese Shih Tzu. This commission request asked if I could paint a treat in the dog's mouth as part of the finished painting. I've never done that before, but I actually like how it turned out. I thought it was pretty cute. Let me know what you think. I use Procreate for my reference photos. I love being able to long press on any area and see a color wheel analysis of that exact color or shade. Plus, it lets me zoom in and out as much as I want, which is super helpful for detail work. For brushes, I almost always use a round brush, and the brand I like is Silver Black Velvet. I use the sizes 6, 8, and 10. They have never failed me. I am super rough on them, and I don't even know the last time I've used brush conditioner on them, and they have held up beautifully. I usually start with the darkest, most obvious lines like the nostrils, the gum lines, and then those lines around the eyes. And then I like to finish the eyes early so I have something nice and cute to look back at me while I'm working on the rest of the painting. Otherwise, I find it feels a lot like I just have these empty, soulless white voids in the middle of the painting staring at me the whole time until I finish them. With the background, I use a wet on wet technique, laying down a wash of water or color, and then I add more paint to it while it's still wet so it kind of dissolves and gives a nice soft feeling. I often don't know exactly how the background will turn out at first. I usually start with like a basic wash of color. Here I'm using blue, and then that helps me guide the values on the rest of the dog's shadows and highlights. Leaving the background plain white, for me personally, can make me paint the dog too lightly. So throughout the process, I just go back and forth and adjust the background and the dog at the same time until I'm happy with it. Most of Peanut is painted using a wet on dry method. That means I load my brush with wet paint and apply it to the dry paper. It gives me way more control. Think of it as more like drawing with a marker rather than using watercolor paint. And I like this technique with dogs like Peanut who have really layered long fur. It's kind of my main approach. I don't love the way the background is looking right now. I think it's a little too distracting, so I am going to soften it up by adding more water and adding pigment on top of those watercolor blooms to the side of Peanut's head. I have no idea where I'm going with backgrounds when I'm making them usually, and here you can see that where I am dropping random colors in. I don't like them, so I scrape them out. Don't like that, so I decide to stop messing with it and come back to it after a little bit of working on the dog. I will say in this moment, I can already tell I am not going to leave the background like it is. I don't like the way that looks. I think the lines are distracting yet again. So I know at this point that I'm going to end up adding probably a light green to cover up the yellow that I added. I like the way the glow looks on the forehead of the dog, but I don't love it so much in the background. So when it comes to painting long, light colored fur, I do have a pretty simple method that has not failed me yet. I start with a base wash of usually like a light brown or a light yellow or orange, and I then add in the obvious shadows, which you can kind of see that I've been doing here and there with some of those darker lines on the dog. I don't go crazy with it because I know that I'm going to cover him up. Now my secret weapon is an opaque white paint over the top at the end. This is where I add like most of the fur texture in, and it saves me from doing the traditional watercolor method of leaving painstaking tiny bits of paper unpainted for those brightest highlights, which technically is like the correct way you're supposed to do watercolor painting. I don't have the patience to do that. I'm not able to do that. So Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white is my secret weapon. I love that stuff. Now, some people might say, that's not real watercolor. It is. It's a water-based paint. It's just the same as using the white paint that comes in your, paint palette. And, I'm not painting for a gallery or an art show. So, what's important is that one, the clients love it, and two, that you are going to use the method that enables you to keep making art. I probably would not keep making art and pet portraits or paint white dogs if I had to be super exact with leaving tiny white bits of paper visible throughout all the other paint. I've tried other methods like masking tape or masking gum, masking fluid or whatever it's called. I don't have the patience for it. It's just so much easier to know I can go back in and add the white highlights at the end. And I honestly love the way it looks. So what you can see me doing here is I'm just using some random brush. I went back to my round brush here, but like a really thin brush with really thin bristles so I can get those wispy hairs just perfect. And I'll sometimes use my fingers to smudge that white paint to give it a more ethereal glow. And while I'm using the white paint, I often flip back to, midtones or darkest darks where I know like, oh crap, I need to go much darker in that area. And sometimes it helps me visualize like, this looks like a mess. I really want to put my black highlights in, or low lights, I guess. And yeah, I'll use a black pen for it. It is what it is. It's faster and I have way more control with it. The other thing I really love about that P.H. Martin bleed proof white is it's not permanent. So I used to think it was, but if you just get a wet brush and lightly like re-wet the white area, you can take a paper towel or another brush and just lift it completely off like it was never there. It's amazing. I love it because when I use it for whiskers, often I make the whisker way too thick or I drop the brush on the paper, and being able to know that I can just pick it right back up and fix my mistake honestly helps a little bit with the anxiety of like, oh no, I'm gonna ruin my painting. So we're getting closer to the end of the painting here, but I wanted to let you guys know what paper I use. I prefer hot press paper. It doesn't really matter what brand. I guess I use Arches because that's what everyone else uses, but I like the smoothness of hot press paper specifically. So regular watercolor paper is usually cold pressed, which means it's rougher and it hasn't been kind of heat ironed flat like hot press does when the paper is made. So the smooth paper, the rough paper usually is more forgiving with watercolor. That water blends more easily and kind of oozes out more easily, so you don't get hard lines like you do with hot press paper. Hot press paper is notorious for cauliflower blooms, and I've found since the paper is so smooth, you can generally just scrub those blooms away and it doesn't bother me. But I prefer the smoothness because the way I do my backgrounds, I don't like being able to see the texture of the paper through the background or through the dog's fur. Okay, so these are my finishing touches. I put a piece of scrap paper down over the face of the dog, and then I get a mix of the white paint. Sometimes I get some more pigmented color paint and splatter it all over just for a sense of whimsy, movement, fun. I don't know, I feel like it's part of watercolor. All right, this is Peanut. Let me know if you think the treat was weird or if it kind of works with this painting. Same with the background. Sometimes it can be tricky painting an all-white dog with kind of curly fur, so if this helps you at all, please let me know. I would be so happy to hear that.